And welcome back to the Engage 8 podcast. It was a one episode absence, but Mr. Elliott, Robby Elliott, whatever you like to call him in your free time, is back here to
We're
join us.
back.
Probably at the most important time that he needs to be here. Robbie's he's just, and I explained this a little bit, explaining about like Robby now. This kid takes forever to do anything, I swear. He's
In
like
some ways.
he's like that friend that you tell him to be there, like, oh yeah, be here at 3:30. All right, 3:30. Where are you at? Oh, I'm still at my house. I'll be on my way at 5. And then you call him and like 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, I'm on my way. I just had to do something. He's still in his bed.
Yeah.
Just
Dude,
like
the life is insane. If you haven't noticed, the backdrop is new. We are in a brand new apartment. Life has been crazy. But we're back and we're about to cover what could be arguably one of the most explosive, one of the most entertaining national championships that we've seen in recent memory.
I mean, I think as long as it's not 65-7, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
don't think either one of these teams is capable of getting blown out. And that is because of their opposite side of the ball. I mean, you look at
I will.
Washington's offense and Michigan's defense, and you say there's no way either one of these teams would take a blowout.
The problem is, and Josh Pate does a really good job of explaining this, is it's a styles clash. So
Mm-hmm.
I think problem is that if one team's really if that style or the strength of one of the teams is not working for them on that day, like the Michigan D line is just getting held up and Penix is getting more time than he would have on any other given Saturday or Sunday or whenever they would play. Or say Washington's pass game, Penix is just really inaccurate and all sorts of that. Like there is an opportunity for a blowout here. And I'm not saying like a 60-point blowout. I'm saying like 3 possessions. Like there's an opportunity for one of these teams to go up by a significant margin. Well, I think that happens. I don't know, because I think the two things when two really good teams play, we saw this in the semifinal. There's going to be mistakes made. And both these coaches, what I will say, are really good at making adjustments to win. Michigan kind of took a recap of their last season, made adjustments to win for this season while maintaining to be healthy. And then against Alabama, it came down to a crucial point where they had to make a fourth quarter, like 2-minute drill drive, go down, score, win in overtime. Like Washington, they had their mistake come at probably the wrong time of the game and gave Texas an opportunity. If they don't make that pass break up there, this is a different game. So it's mistakes waiting to happen. I think that's really what it is. Who bounces back more, I think, is going to be the story of the game, because just when it comes to two teams like that are really good and the top of the top, which I do believe these two teams are the best teams in the country.
Absolutely. I think not only is it the two best teams in the country, but I think it's the two most resilient teams in the country. Two quarterbacks who have dealt with more adversity in their entire career, and in some ways, even this season. I think Michael Penix, did he deserve the Heisman? I think more and more as we watch him later on, I think we are coming up to the point of the Oregon game, the second time these two teams played in the Pac-12 championship. And we're like, Michael Penix, you've been good, but Jaden Daniels, yeah, absolutely, you deserve it, But then we saw him play in that game, and we're like, oh, okay, wait, this team isn't done. They were here, they showed up, they beat the same team twice, which is something that's so hard to do. And then he did what he did in the college football playoff, but not even that. We can go further and further back. This kid's torn his ACL twice. He separated his shoulder. He's beat up. He's freaking in his 6th year of college, transferred schools. I mean, you name it, he's been through it. And he's about to embark on one of the biggest games of his entire career, and maybe the biggest game he ever plays in, just because this kid may not get the same opportunity that he deserves in the NFL because of the injuries, because of the age, whatever it may be. I personally think anybody who says that is so stupid. This kid has the greatest arm. He's one of the greatest arm talents that ever
He is
entered
the
the NFL.
greatest passer in college football.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
and maybe in college football history, and everyone, and it's so funny because
I have to say,
Tua was the same way. Now Tua doesn't have the same arm, but Tua was just as accurate. And these guys get overshadowed simply because they're left-handed. But, that's on the Michael Penix side. JJ McCarthy, this was the kid that, hey, he was the 5-star coming to Michigan, supposed to save the program, right? Telling people, everyone, oh, calm down. He was directing the ship when he was in high school. Gets there, Cade McNamara's playing over him. Kids just getting chanted in the stadium. We want JJ, blah, 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 blah. He gets his big moments, quote unquote, in the Michigan State game, fumbles the ball, whatever. Now he's not liked. He still shows up in his moments, comes back, plays Georgia, does well. Everyone's excited. Then he goes, leads his team to an undefeated, has the game of his life against freaking, Ohio State, blows it in the playoff, makes this unbelievable promise, humble, whatever. And then all season, it was once again, he's not doing enough. This team is carried by their run game. This team's carried by their defense. And yet again, this kid is standing here about to embark. Even think about the Alabama game. He throws a pick on the first play of the game that, yes, was it a pick? Actually, no, but he
it
still
was a
threw a pick.
horrible throw.
It was one of the
Regardless,
worst throws ever. But these two quarterbacks is the point I'm trying to make. They're resilient. They make a mistake, and like what JJ got the freaking gift of a lifetime and able to redo that play without it happening. He got to sit there, sulk in the emotions of it, but then go out with no consequence and get to freaking change it. These two guys know how to beat adversity. They know how to attack it with a calm mindset, and they're going to do that time in, time again in this game. And that's why this thing, in my opinion, doesn't go in a blowout for that one simple reason. These two teams know how to battle back. It's simply, in my opinion, who's going to have the ball last. Because as much as I wanted to believe that, if Michigan had that ball last against Alabama, that we would have won that game, I just knew leaving that much time on the clock when they went and tied that game, I was like, yep, it's over. Luckily, this defense is much better than I even thought. I had high expectations that this was one of the best defenses in football, but I thought Alabama had that actually. And, we obviously saw what happened in that playoff game. But, two resilient football teams, that's my opinion on why this game doesn't end in a blowout.
my thing with I don't know if it comes down to the last team or if it comes down to the team with the football at the end. Probably, because that's how it works out traditionally in most football games. But what I will say is who can get the more knockout punches? Because efficiency talking wise, Michigan's one of the best explosive play teams in the country, according to efficiency stats. But Washington averages like the most explosive plays in a game. Who can limit the amount of shots and the amount of damage? And also, I think red zone defense is going to be a big thing here because Washington, while they might not, like, they're statistically horrible against the run, I feel like when it comes to the red zone and it comes to having to clutch up, like what they did in that first Oregon game was like beautiful in the red zone. Yes, was it kind of some errors by Oregon as well? Yes. But if Michigan can, or if Washington can if it's 3rd and goal at the 7, they can keep them outside of the 5-yard line and not because I believe once Michigan gets inside the 5, like it's over. Like you might as well just get your special teams units warmed up and be ready to go on the next series and go get a touchdown back. That's how confident. If Michigan's inside the 5 and they like go to commercial or something, I'm like, yep, okay, I can go do this real quick or like get something quickly done.
Right, because it's a Blake Corum touchdown.
Yeah, it's a Blake Corum touchdown. So, but what I will say is that because I do believe the Michigan secondary is better than what Texas's secondary was.
Yes, I do too.
How much?
Right. I think there's pieces. Makari Page in coverage has proven to be shaky. I think Josh Wallace is not he's a good coverage back, but he is up to the par of those Texas DBs. Now his strong suit is open field tackling, his physicality, right? Will Johnson, yeah, that kid's on an island of his own. He's probably right now arguably top 3 cornerback in football.
Like, he
but
is going to be the number one corner taken in 2025. Like,
absolutely, absolutely. But here's the thing, and Rod Moore, I will give him credit too. He has done a great job in coverage. Keon Saab, you'll see him a little bit. He's been a ball hawk. He's not necessarily great in coverage, but he's got a great nose for the football. The thing, though, that is different about every single time that they've played and what has made the secondary look great is they know they can eliminate one guy with Will Johnson. And that is what they did against Ohio State. They knew they were not going to, they were going to, let me rephrase this. Jim Harbaugh likes to put it this way. You cannot stop great players, but you can learn how to slow them down. And that is exactly what Michigan did against Ohio State with Marvin Harrison Jr. That guy is the best receiver in college football, and he is not going to be stopped. You can slow him down from preventing the big plays, which is what they did. But here is the thing about Washington. Washington has the greatest wide receiver room in all of college football. Millen, Polk, Odunze.
we said this preseason too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Washington might have the best receiving core.
And they've lived up to it and some. And that is the difference right now, is every single one of those guys has to play the best game of their lives because all three of those guys are of the caliber of the best receiver that Michigan has faced all season. And they all could go for 100 yards easily. They might all three go for 100 yards in this game.
Hey, don't forget about Drury Bernard either.
No, and that's the thing, is that kid's fantastic. Would probably be wide receiver 1 on about 70% of schools, and he's wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
It's truly unbelievable.
Yeah.
The type
what
of
I will say is that, first off, Rome Odunze might, and just might, be better than Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, it's such an unfair judgment because he had Kyle McCord. With CJ Stroud, he breaks every.
That is fair. I'll give you that.
Like, Odunze is great because of Penix. Now, that doesn't mean Odunze's going to be bad in the NFL because that kid's going to go and dominate. He would be great anywhere.
But, like, I just think that, like, if Rome Odunze was at Ohio State and Marvin Harrison Jr. is at Washington, the media coverage and the talk would be completely different.
Oh yeah.
So
oh my gosh.
That's what I'm just saying. Like, I think that Rome Odunze, and yes, Marvin Harrison's a great contested catch guy, but no one is better than Rome Odunze. Like, nobody.
No, dude, it's 1A, 1B with these guys. When you can look at stats, you can look at tape, you can do anything. It's just like,
I would give the slight physical edge, though, to Marvin Harrison, just in terms of athleticism.
Yeah, he's got the speed. I'm sure he's got bigger hands. There's such small things, but that's the thing, is it, like, it comes down to
it doesn't really matter, though, in the NFL. Like, if you can run, and this is just something I'll ramble on a little bit, you can do all these great things at the combine, but if you don't know how to use that speed or use that athleticism towards your game, it doesn't matter.
Nope. Dude, look at Puka Nacua, man.
Yeah.
This guy just broke the freaking single season rookie receiving yard record. And was he getting talked about the way Rome Odunze and Marvin Harrison was? No. Because in the NFL, can you make the plays? Can you get open? Can you, get yourself in the right spot?
There's a reason why Brock Purdy's a starting quarterback, because literally he just knows the game of football and knows what he needs to do.
Right.
I mean,
CJ Stroud.
Does it help that you have a bunch of elite talent around you? Yes. But that's what you need to do to win.
Always. But, Sam Darnold couldn't do it, and Brock Purdy can every week. So
that is
fair. There's levels to this shit, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Sam Darnold just, all my confidence would be shot if I had to go from New York to Carolina. So, I don't think
any failed in those systems.
Yeah. No. What I will say is that I think Dylan Johnson's playing this game. I think
it sounds like it. Now, that injury was nasty, this is the point that I'm going to. How effective is he going to be? Because really, in the last half of the season, dude, the kid's been great. Obviously, had it's against USC, but had that phenomenal performance against USC with like 250 rushing yards. I remember watching that game. I'm like, oh shit, Washington has a running game. This is going to be different. And he was talked about one of the best pass catching backs in college football. Coming into Washington, obviously playing at Mississippi State before. But now that he's at Washington and he's getting carries and touches, like, he just adds Washington. One thing I will say that does get really underestimated with them on both sides of the ball is their physicality.
there's a reason why Michael Penix only has gotten sacked 11 times this year. There's a reason
Dude.
why they're able to
Mhm.
have a consistent run game with Dylan Johnson. There's a reason why Braylon Trice against a really good Texas defense or offensive line was able to pick up 2 sacks in that semifinal games, because I've kind of mentioned it, like the front seven for Washington actually has some dudes on it. And to even though the Washington secondary is not great, Jabbar Muhammad is one of the best coverage corners and best guys able to get a play on the ball. He does a phenomenal job. He came from, like, I believe, Oklahoma State. So, or maybe was it Oklahoma State or South Alabama? It was one of the two schools.
Muhammad, I believe, was Oklahoma State.
Okay, that's what I thought. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I'm thinking of someone else. But no. What I will say is that I think Washington, and it's just probably just playing on the West Coast throughout the majority of the year, and most of the games are 7 o'clock or 10:30, and they just a lot of the hype in sports now is through social media pages on the ESPNs, on the with Professional Sports League on their pages. Washington really never got talked about. Like, there's some people that didn't know who Michael Penix was until, like, conference championship week or the national
There's
semifinal.
people who don't even know that this man played for Indiana.
Yeah, like, people don't know. Like, during that COVID year, Michael Penix was like
He was a Heisman contender.
yeah, like
The
this
world
kid.
knew about this kid.
Yeah, for people that actually watch college football, like, everyone knows who Michael Penix is. But outside with the naysayers, God, I think Robby knows what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah.
But
I don't remember what man on ESPN had to say that, but
yeah,
man, was that hilarious.
yeah. But no,
Oh, Blank,
Washington.
baby.
Washington is seriously. I've talked great about them all year. I said they're gonna win these games. I said they were gonna make it here. Washington is one of my favorite teams, probably one of my favorite college football teams of all time, just to sit down and watch on a Saturday. That I think.
It's the epitome of college football. This team reminds me of that Georgia team that had Matthew Stafford the year Matthew Stafford went #1 overall.
Yeah,
Like, just absolute, let's just heave it down the field, big arm talent, great receivers who are going to run under the ball and get it. Dude, there's as much as I'm a Michigan fan as I am, this team, I have to completely admit, and every Michigan player sitting on the podiums today, yesterday, just admitting that this team is so fun to freaking watch, and they're so talented all
they
over the board.
Yeah, and people don't realize because they don't really watch their games in depth. Like, when you see, a guy like Braylon Trice, go or like late first round, early second round, dude, that kid's a legit threat off the edge. They
Mhm.
have, they have the Hawaiian players that, they have like 3 of them that
Yeah,
play.
Trey Fontu or
Yeah.
Fanatu or whatever his name is. That kid was a
Well,
third-team All-American.
yeah, the offensive lineman, yeah, that kid, he's gonna get drafted as well. They have the guys on that. They have one edge rusher, Zion, some. I'm not gonna pronounce his name, but like that kid, like, they just have freaks everywhere. I've said it all year. They don't play great defensively, but collectively, but they have dudes. They have dudes that are able to step up and make plays. And that's what comes. I really like Powell in the secondary too as a safety. That kid just flies around back there. Like, he's not no Kyle Hamilton, but he's a lengthy safety that's gonna fly around the field. So,
Yeah. The
speaking of which,
athlete
Kyle Hamilton was one of my favorite defensive prospects of all time. Dude, that kid is
he was him and Brandon Joseph, if anyone remembers that name, who went from Northwestern to Notre Dame, who actually went undrafted and went to the Lions. I don't know where he's at now. But dude, those two guys brought back the true definition of what a safety prospect is supposed to be. And we're seeing it on full display in that freaking Baltimore
yeah,
Ravens defense with Kyle Hamilton. He
yeah.
is
And I mean, even
one
without,
of the
like,
freakiest players out there.
he and Downs for Alabama were so crucial for them all season. Like,
Oh my gosh.
there's just guys like, oh God, like Lassiter, he's like a safety corner, like nickel hybrid. that kid like deserves that. That's one of my favorite DBs in the draft. I like all the Georgia DBs, but not all of them are eligible this year for the draft. But
Right. No, that DB class is going to be disgusting. That DB class just from that university. But no, like I was just about to say, the athletes that will be on display in this game is at an all-time high. I
yeah,
mean, Michigan's defensive line, the athletes on that team, go back and watch that game if you haven't watched. Watch Derek Moore. Watch a guy like Josiah Stewart. Last play of the game, the kid's 265 going up against a 360-pound lineman, and he's doing what he wants to him. He is just the amount of talent that has kind of been the re-identifying image that Michigan wanted to get after that COVID season. It was, we're going to bring in a guy like Ben Herbert, and we are going to build peer class athletes. Because why couldn't they beat Michigan? Why couldn't they beat Michigan State? Why couldn't they beat Ohio State? Ohio State specifically, everyone was faster than them, everyone was stronger than them, and everyone was bigger than them. And so they were going to say, all right, we are going to build our guys not only up here, but physically to match that athletic class. And, 3 years in the work, the first year it was, yeah, we can do it against Ohio State, but we still couldn't compete against the SEC. They've now put 3 years extra work in. Those guys are all bought in, and they are now at the caliber of SEC athletes. But that doesn't even go to, I'm not even saying that just to, compare them against Washington and say, no, Washington has the athletes that do it. That, you want to talk about physicality? That offensive line is the definition of it. There's people on the ground every single play with that offensive line. The trenches, if you guys aren't fans of the trenches, become one before you watch this game and pay attention to it, because it is going to be a true masterclass battle.
Yeah, this game might be 10-10. Like Washington has gotten held under the 30 points throughout this season just because, they know when they have to play physical, they know when they have to, design the shots and stuff. So with that being said, this I could expect this, and I love defensive games. Like I was enjoying the hell out of that Michigan-Alabama game for the first three quarters because there was just when it comes to defensive battles, it's kind of like a chess match. You got to think strategically. You need to know when you need to design up the right blitzes, when you need to know when you need to drop 8 in the coverage. Like there's just certain things you got to know, and you're trying to just, match what the offense is doing. And then obviously when it's time to generate a turnover or get a sack, obviously do those things. But with that being said, and I think Michigan's done a hell of a job of just playing chess all year. Like they just know exactly what to do.
That offensive game plan was a chess game. That was just an absolute.
To be fair,
you can't play better.
To be fair, I don't think Alabama was that good all year offensively. I think
offensively, I would agree.
Yeah, they had shot plays against bottom secondaries, and Auburn, which actually had a pretty solid secondary, and their James, their defensive back, like that kid's gonna be a guy that gets drafted. If you don't get that last second play, you're not making the college football playoff. Like they just played too close all year. And you can say the same thing about Washington, but the thing is they never lost a game to begin with. And they still looked like the best team in all the games they're played. I can't say the same thing for Alabama. Like they had one good performance against Georgia on a team that didn't have the greatest defensive players, in the whole, like guys that are just going to be dogs in the NFL.
Right, and that's why it's so hard to get to this game, because you could argue that Georgia was the best team in the country up until week 10, but you got to finish. Washington and Michigan have week in, week out, no matter the opponent, whether it's the flub non-conference or it's been the absolute just mammoth schedule that they've had the last, I don't even know, 6 weeks.
Both these teams have a common opponent though, and both did a phenomenal job against them.
Who's that?
Michigan State.
Yes, yes. Just such a great game to go and break down tape on and say, hey, they did this against.
Dude, watch Washington versus Michigan State, man. Holy crap, dude! They had I remember watching that game live. I'm just I'm not even pissed because literally Jalen McMillan had like 2 contested catches. Ramadunze had a couple. Like we were
Yeah.
just getting, and Jack Westover had 3 touchdowns too. That's really what made. That's really what.
Yeah, dude. It was outmatched. But
Yeah.
an interesting point to understand too about this game is that when it is a chess match like this, it is truly trying to get into the mind of the opponent. And there's no better asset that Michigan has on their side of the field than Jack Tuttle. And Jack Tuttle, for all of you that don't know,
Indiana
guy, was the backup to Michael Penix for 2 years. This kid, if there's anybody that knows Michael Penix better, it's Jack Tuttle. And you have to think that when 2 teams are matched so close, even though I don't care what the spread says, I think it's at like 5.5 now. This is very, very even matchup, and it is those questions. It is being able to pick the brain of a guy like that is going to ultimately give somebody the slight edge. It's not about, oh, hey, what are they going to do? What reads do they? How do they progress through the reads? No. How does this guy face this? What does he think when this comes at him? How does he deal with pressure? Can he go both sides? If there's a rush coming off his left, is he going to look right? Which way is he looking? Like being able to be observant and understand those things. If Jack Tuttle is that guy and was really truly paying attention to that stuff, because for most of you who don't know, a backup quarterback really should be paying attention to those things because they're trying to figure out what makes the guy successful, what makes him able and to be trusted in that role, and as well as what are the coaches looking for that he's doing that I'm not. So if he was truly a good backup quarterback, which I think he is because Jack Tuttle is very talented, that is the slight advantage that they will have.
Yeah. What I will, and obviously with having DeBoer there as well, like Jack Tuttle played in that offense that, Washington runs. Like he was taking reps in practice with Kalen DeBoer's offense in that offensive scheme. So like Jack Tuttle is probably going to be, and I didn't even look at it from that point. So that's a really good perspective to bring up about it. What I will say though, is that I don't think it really matters because as long as Michael Penix gets the time to throw,
for sure,
it's not going to matter.
But that's the thing is that if there's one defensive line that is going to penetrate and give this offensive line the best run for their money, it's Michigan's. But
I also think this Washington offensive line is going to give the defensive line for Michigan the best run for their money.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be a battle in the trenches.
Yeah. This is what it really comes down to. And this is what most football games come down to. And it's the guys up front. If you don't have the guys up front to win, it doesn't matter. So this, like I said, it's going to be a chess match back and forth. And even the Washington defensive line, like they have their interior's good. Their edge guys are real, especially the Trice, really good. Like in Michigan, their offensive line actually really did impress me in that game against Alabama. I thought they actually did a really good job of cleaning stuff up, when Zinner went down, because that offensive line, even though they took care of Iowa, it still did not look good against Iowa. So what I will say is that I think the Michigan offensive line is like just as good as it was with Zinter. Not to discredit Zach Zinter, but I'm just saying like they found a way.
And they've the point that you're trying to make too, that a lot of people were like, this isn't the worst guy to get hurt. Yes, is he the 2-time unanimous All-American? Sure, but when Zinter was so good and everyone else on this offensive line was so good that so many guys were playing out of position in order to have the core 5 that they did. Trente Jones, the backup tackle which was Zach Zinter, he was good enough to play on that line 1,000%. It just happened to be that Barnhart and Glasgow were just better. Were just slightly better and better at a way that they were literally playing at a caliber that was giving them all Big Ten Conference honors. Once Zinter was removed, it allowed everybody else to shift back to their normal position, and then Trente Jones to incentively just step in. Zinter was not supposed to be there this year. This whole goes all back to that mentality of, those who stay will be champions. There's a lot of guys that return for their senior year, Trevor Keegan, Zinter, all of them, who came back and said, you know what, I want to win a natty. I don't care about the draft. That's why it's configured this way, and that's why they're having still so much success, because now guys are playing not out of position, even though ultimately on the offensive line, it doesn't matter too much. The only thing that really matters is flipping guys on sides, because it's just like being right-handed and left-handed.
I mean, it really depends also on your scheme, because, I mean, pass pro, it really doesn't matter. That's just a communication thing. With the run game, like, obviously, if you're a guard and you're going to pull, like, that's a little bit different. Like, there's a little, like, technical stuff, but if you're playing at that high,
I mean, the
high of
side that you're playing on definitely matters. I remember when Penei Sewell came in as a rookie, they put him – he was a right tackle his whole career at Oregon, and they put him at left tackle on the Lions to start, because they had a really good all-pro right tackle, and Penei Sewell looked like Swiss cheese, because he didn't understand just how to – it's a whole different thing. It's you're stepping with different feet, you're pushing differently. It's a whole thing. But yeah, no, that's the only reason why that they have been able to still succeed and look just as good without Zinners, because a lot of these guys are now finally playing back in their comfortable positions in depth. It's two things. That thing is that is something that these two teams possess and do it really, really well. And that is create guys that they can plug and play and feel comfortable when in that next man up mentality.
So you're probably wondering, if you're watching, like, you guys are both talking very high about these teams and breaking down every little bits and piece of these teams. But in the end,
somebody's gonna win.
Who do you think's gonna win?
It's Michigan. And that's not because I'm looking at
wow, what a surprise, guys. This kid all year, just absolutely just
glazing them, but for good reason. They are 5.5-point favorites in this game, but that's not why. That's not why. It's the guys at the helm. Who's the captains? How do they lead this team? How does this team's energy go? What does their focus look like? To beat an Alabama team the way they did, literally making every single mistake, even though they had never been making mistakes like that all season, still to come out with a win. They hadn't even been losing in the fourth quarter the whole season. They were facing things, but that shows how prepared this team was. They were practicing every single scenario, and I just think it's going to ultimately come down to, are these teams evenly matched? Yes, but who's more prepared? Who has put the work in? Who is playing with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder? Michigan's got something to prove, man, and they're going to be the ones who come out victorious.
What I will say, if Michigan does lose, you're going to look really good in that green and white jersey.
Oh yeah, it's still coming,
when you
dude.
you have to and we'll talk after and get that thing ordered for you, because we need to see you in the beautiful majestic.
Yes, I did lose. For all of you that don't know, I lost the bowl pick'em.
I showed it in the last episode, which if you didn't take a look at that and you want to still look at the semifinals reaction, make sure you go take a listen. But I pulled up, Robby went 20-19. I went 27-12, which to be honest is just
bull pick'ems. Kind of absurd. It's actually
crazy. Bull pick'ems are really hard to guesstimate. Like, obviously, what you know about a program, it's really just a testament to depth and who's ready and who's not.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what me and Robby tried to base our judgments off of, and my judgment was just more right this year than his. But we will be here next year for you.
Yes,
so Robby's gonna go on the revenge tour.
Oh, it's gonna be. I'm gonna be doing more homework than I was doing for that one.
He does not want to.
Childs.
He's not gonna want to have to buy a. God, who's a future Michigan State superstar?
Who's a future superstar? I mean, you could hope that Trent Grimes is going to be a superstar.
He's only going to be there for 1 year.
You could hope that Nick Marsh is going to be a superstar.
You know what? Yeah, if you lose next year, that's the jersey that you're getting.
Nick Marsh after he wins the Blinketoff as a freshman. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome. It's definitely. They're not going to throw it enough next year for that to even be a thing.
No, we could go into that Michigan State team and what we think for a long time.
Yeah, which they just got an All-American interior lineman too from that Oregon State team that's transferring now. So they're doing stuff at Michigan State, and I think they're hopefully getting the right guys in the portal. Obviously, we have to see what it's like on the field. But no, what I will say is that what it comes down to me, and it's really tough because both these teams do a good job of it, is when it gets tough, who do you go to? What is your what is and this is something that you referenced. What is your out pitch?
Mhm.
And for Michigan, I would say it would honestly be on the defensive side with their D line and generating pressure, but I would also
It's
say,
those stunts, man.
yeah, but also I would say is it's not an out pitch for them necessarily. Like it's not something that you're just like, you go to in like a 2-2 count, but it's something you build like throughout the whole game. It's something you go to all game. It's just the consistency and they play almost a bend don't break style on offense. Like they don't look to turn the ball over. They kind of do the same thing on defense sometimes too, where they're just not looking to do that.
No,
Watch,
if you watch their defense, their cornerbacks play 8 to 9 yards off the line of scrimmage, and they don't let up big plays like that. And you're going to see that all game against this Washington team.
but Washington, they are really aggressive when they need to be, and they are they take very calculated risks. Like you almost see when Washington plays, they don't make that many mistakes when they
Mhm.
go for a deep shot or go for a very aggressive blitz. And with that being said, I really do. I would obviously have to see it play out, and this would be a great live betting game, as most games are. I don't think Michigan. It depends how much pressure Michigan really is able to dial up on this Washington offensive line, because I think that's really going to be the true testament. But what I will say is when Michael Penix gets pressured, like yes, there's a difference, but it's not that much. Like he was making throws under pressure all game in that Texas game too.
Yeah.
He's done it all
It's how
season.
well can they drape these receivers and how well
But I
because
I don't think there's like Washington hasn't played like necessarily a great pass secondary. They played decent pass coverage guys like Kyrie Jackson. I don't know. Washington doesn't lose many 50 balls, and I don't think
yeah, but the
Michigan.
physicality. There's guys, I mean, Josh Wallace and Will Johnson are some of the most physical cornerbacks in college football in terms of just pure size and athletic ability. I'm not saying that they, shut them down, but it's going to be more there's going to be some balls that usually would all fall during the
I
course
just
of the
think the
season.
amount. Okay, what I will say is, I think it's just the amount of what you can't match up on all three guys, and that's just been
No,
the problem.
no,
That's just been a problem for
no,
everyone all
no.
season that's played.
Mikey
Washington.
can lock and he can be all over a guy and do everything everything right. But and this is not a knock on Mikey. He obviously plays like he's 6'5", but he's not as big, and that is what these receivers possess is pure size and strength. Mikey's as strong as them,
I just
just as
think they also.
skilled, but he's just not as big.
I don't see a way where when Washington wants to get aggressive and throw it deep, you're not going to be able to cover all three guys. Like you're gonna have to hope. You're gonna have to take a risk on
Mm-hmm.
someone. So going Washington.
Wow, he's going with the Huskies.
I've been really high. I said this team was going to be like when I did my Washington breakdown video. I said they were a sleeper for the college football playoff, and yeah, they made it here.
They're
They made it
here.
to the national championship. I just, and I don't want to be really wrong about this and come in here on Tuesday and be like, mistaken for the, everything. But I don't see why. You've already made it here. This team's faced everything that they could have this year. They've been talked badly about, faced every
Yeah.
single situation imaginable,
Each
played
one,
through.
dude, they're so
Yeah.
battle tested.
And you could talk about the schedule that they played this year, but you could also talk about Michigan's. I just will say both these teams have stepped up against the best teams.
Yeah.
It should hopefully be a phenomenal football game.
Oh, it's going to be, baby. It's going to be one for the absolute ages.
Yes. All right. We rambled approximately 40 minutes about this national championship game. So if you are still confused on what you don't what is still going to be happening in this game, then maybe you need
Yeah,
to
maybe I don't know if we can explain it any more simple than this.
yeah.
Big plays, big athletes, and an absolute just war in the trenches. Those are the three things that are going to be happening. Who wins? I mean, we each have differing opinions, but this will be settled in just about 24 hours from now.
Yeah. I actually hopefully it's settled in 24 hours from now because watching that Sugar Bowl game at 1 o'clock in the morning was not what I wanted. Not what I
No.
wanted at all. All right.
No.
We're still not done here. I know we never can finish it. When it's me and Robby together, we're always here for a long time, always here for a great time. So I'm not going to do this at the end of the show because it's going to be a New Year's thing. New Year's, new time to remind you to hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all the things that you're supposed to do, but you just don't feel like doing them. So do it. It takes 5 seconds and it would be very greatly appreciated from me and Mr. Elliott. All right,
Yes.
let's talk about the transfer portal. So the first thing I wanted to get into, and no, it's not Quashad Judkins. We'll get in that second because there is a quarterback that I made a comparison to Kyle McCord, but he was better. And ironically, he's not going to Ohio
filling
State.
in the shoes, Mr. Will Howard. It is
I just thought it was really ironic that I do make that comparison.
well, it's funny because I mean you weren't the only one, and yet I this team, this program, their head coach just makes no sense to me. What are you trying to do? You had the opportunity against Missouri to go out and showcase both of your quarterbacks. Okay. Now, did they put on their best showing? Absolutely not.
Well, and
But
Devin Brown got hurt too.
and Devin Brown got hurt, but their best guys, their guys are out there, their future's out there. That is what that offense is going to look like. And yeah, you put up no points, but then you just give up. Like, where is the trust? Where is Ryan Day is so confused, ladies and gentlemen. He is so confused. And he thinks that somehow a little bit more polished version of Kyle McCord is going to get them over the hump. No. And Urban Meyer, probably reading that he was coming, was probably screaming. Because what did Urban Meyer's teams do? Did they have great receivers? Yes, they did have great receivers. But what did their quarterbacks do that made them so much different?
Dual threat.
Exactly. Braxton Miller, JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Terrell Pryor.
Dwayne Haskins was no dual threat though,
but he was a threat.
Yes, he was.
And
he recruited Stroud too.
And he recruited Stroud, who was afraid to lay it out on the line when he was in college, but he still could run, and we saw that against Georgia. I'm just saying, you are going away from the brand of Ohio State football and trying to re-identify yourself when there was never a problem. There was never a problem. These edge rushers are not the same. What the heck are you recruiting? JT Tumel is not the same. I get it. You're not going to find some Bosas, but at least try to match a guy like Chase Young. At least try to match. You gotta. I could go on and on. I hate the program, but I'm being very logical when I say, what do you? Sure. If any of you are wondering what in Sam hell we are laughing at right now, I'm not going to read it.
Just know
that it was
personal
very comedic.
Personal identity. That's how you need to know. Now, honestly, I don't mind it because while McCord was not good this year, I don't think people understand. And yes, Will Howard was splitting time with Avery Johnson, but I just think that's also Kansas State looking forward at their.
You mean Adrian Martinez?
No, they split time with Avery Johnson this year.
He split time. Yeah. He was benched for Adrian Martinez.
But I will say he was the backup behind Adrian Martinez. They figured out it didn't work with Martinez as much, and also Martinez got hurt, and then Will Howard played the rest of the year basically. I think this kid almost didn't get a true. I feel like there was something within the Kansas State staff where they just did not like Will Howard. that much. They didn't really see him as like a future piece, even though he won him a Big 12 championship. Like that guy was a pivotal piece on that. He is a dual threat court. Like if you really watched him play, like he can run the ball. I will say, I don't think it's necessarily the right move, only because you're bringing in a guy for a 1-year rental basically because he's
Yep.
either going pro or he's just done. Like that's what it is. Why? And I think it's really a concern with Brown because Brown, this isn't the first time he's gotten hurt. This is the third time now. And with that being said, how
Yeah,
made
that guy's got to go. But Lincoln Keenholz was
I
arguably a
don't know.
better
I don't
Lincoln
know if
prospect.
Devin Brown's got to go,
No,
but
he's
he's got to figure it out.
yeah, but I think he's got to make the move that, Michael Penix had to make. Now, did Penix have a better resume? Obviously, but it's just like, okay, listen, within the crowd of Ohio
I
State,
know a program that would love Devin Brown right now.
who's that?
Bama.
Oh, well,
No, I'm not getting started on
you're
this.
telling me Jalen Milroe is not the starting quarterback next year?
I don't think so.
That
Is he the favorite to win the Heisman? Yes. Is he any good at Is he really any good at quarterback?
no, I mean,
No.
I'm not saying that, but come on.
No.
Come on.
He will be the starter. I'm just saying he doesn't deserve it.
Okay. That's a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. You heard that one here first.
Wow. Well, okay.
Devin Brown, I don't think Alabama wants Devin Brown. Would Devin Brown work?
I'm just saying I think they would rather have someone if they can find someone that's equal or better to Jalen Milroe, they will take him. Because they don't like him there. They wanted to convert him to a receiver for a reason. And when
that was Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien hated the guy.
Well, Reese still did not like him.
No, I agree. That's why it took them so long to just finally say, well, because when they realized, that their backups, Ty Thompson and Tyler Buckner, or whoever the heck was Ty Simpson. Ty Thompson was Oregon. Ty Simpson and Buckner were just, nothing. They're like, okay, fine, we'll let Jalen Milroe be Jalen Milroe and just basically use him as this.
Arguably lost the two biggest games of the season.
Yeah, I mean Seth McClown doesn't help, or McCaughlin, or whatever that guy's name is, but
which ironically goes to Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't even. Dude, Ryan Day, you're an absolute clown. I don't know. If you see that guy and say, yeah, this guy's gonna help me beat Michigan, you're a clown. You're a clown. At this point, it's like you just want the publicity to get
Walker or not Walker. Well, I mean Walker Howard would be fine too. But Will Howard to Michigan actually wouldn't have been like a bad thing.
Nope. But I'm not even gonna get in because this is transfer portal talk. All I'm saying is JJ's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. JJ's back.
If he wins it, he's not coming back. I'm sorry. There's no reason.
He's back.
I don't think your buddy boy Jim.
Jimmy's back too.
You think so?
Yep. I do.
We'll have to wait.
They're just memeing. I mean, I've watched every press conference that has been known to man with these guys, and we were asked after the Alabama game. They're like, "So what's your future?" And these guys looked at each other and started hysterically laughing. They know. But they're not going to say anything because they know what the media is going to do. The media is just scrutinizing them for everything.
What I will say though is you never hear anyone talking about how they're going to leave, unless it's just I don't give a
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, personality. But you're never going to hear because there's been plenty of times where coaches are like, we're still going to be with the program, we're still going to be with the team, blah 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 blah, and then a week later they move on.
They're gone. Yeah.
Who
knows? Who knows?
I'm not saying that you're wrong, and obviously we won't know until the decision's made. I'm just saying I think there's more of a possibility happening than you might think.
Yeah, absolutely. But even back on just the talk.
Well, Michigan's a weird school, so
it's a weird dynamic, and it takes a special individual to even go there and play there.
And except it's a culture. It's a culture. That's what I'll say.
Absolutely.
It takes you either have to buy into it, and that's the reason why they're so great. You either have to buy into their culture or
you're out or see ya.
it's not going to work.
And that doesn't mean that you're a bad football player too. I think you look at a guy like guy that's in the portal right now, Andre Seldon Jr. Andre Seldon Jr. was a All-American 4-star prospect from the state of Michigan who went to Michigan. A little bit undersized, but this guy had, he was very, very good, very talented. Michigan didn't want to play him. He goes off to that New Mexico State team that, finally emerged and made a name for themselves and had a bunch of guys, whether they left for the transfer portal or coaches get big jobs, they rebranded themselves. That kid is now taking visits to a bunch of Power 5 schools again. I believe Wisconsin is the favorite right now. But he just didn't want to buy into the culture of it. He left. He was still a great player. AJ Henning, this is a guy who was pretty bought into the culture of it, but he wasn't willing to be fully selfless, and he knew that he could play. He went out and had a great year for Northwestern. There's so many guys. Yeah, Andrellian, exactly. A guy who loved being
Maybe
there.
Darius Clemens needs to leave because seriously, I do believe that kid's gonna be good.
I do too.
But
I think he is
also been hurt. He's just been hurt. So
yeah, 100%. But the portal has become. It's just every single season that this happens, it has gained my respect more and more.
Wouldn't it be hilarious? I know Jerry Kill just retired technically, but imagine him and Diego Pavia just coming to the University of Michigan, and it's gonna be pissing on the Michigan State logo. Like he's gonna be doing all these.
That'd be so great.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Jerry Kill, he's going to enjoy those margaritas in Mexico. So
absolutely, as he should.
The second thing I wanted to get to is Quinshon Judkins obviously entering. What does this mean? I don't think he cares about winning, but there's also a part of me that believes that he also does care, and he just doesn't. He doesn't know that Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss has done a great job in the portal, like second to none, probably the best team in the portal. Maybe you can argue Louisville in there, which for you guys thinking that I'm biased, like actually looking at these kids that they're getting and the amount of talent that they're getting, like this team, like they're reloading to play for an ACC championship again next year. Yeah. Will they be there? I don't know. I mean, North Carolina is going to probably be not that good. Clemson, I believe, might be back next year, and then obviously Florida State. Will they be in the league next year? Probably, but it'll probably be their last year. So with that being said, Judkins, where does he go?
Quinshon, in terms of schematically, the guy as a running back fits great at Michigan. I don't think the attitude wants to be touched. I think Quinshon or however the hell you pronounce his name, this is a guy that, like you said, he doesn't care about winning. This guy wants to make his money. This guy wants to get to the league. He's got a bunch of talent, but he might be a little bit of a locker room guy that we just didn't get to hear about because there was probably so many other problems at Ole Miss, like Lane Kiffin just being a drama queen. But like I'm saying, but it could be on the flip side too, just to, I'm just analyzing here why the possible situation as to why Judkins left. It could be also that he just believes that no matter the talent and no matter just whatever you want to bring into this Ole Miss program, that if Lane Kiffin's there, that they're not going to win a big game. They're not going to, win anything of, win anything of importance. Now, would I say that is the logical answer? Probably not, because I don't think a lot of people would be coming there. And I think a guy like Jackson Dart would have left by now. But hey, what do I know? I guess we will see that pull out. In terms of where he fits, I want to say he stays in the SEC. But
you know who I thought, and I just thought of this just now. You know where he would fit great at? Missouri.
Yes. Taking the role of Cody Schrader and the way he was used in that offense, I really think that an SEC team like that. I was not going to say
you could go to A&M too.
I was just about to say that. The lower caliber, not in Arkansas, not diving that low, but the teams that are middle ground, the Mizzous, the Tamus, those teams, even a team like Oklahoma, who is now in the SEC.
Yeah.
Think about the guys that they've gotten.
Yeah, and Joey Walker is transferring out too.
And the one team that, in my opinion, would just be so exciting to watch is Texas.
Texas is not. They wouldn't.
They wouldn't go after him because
No.
Baxter's there and Baxter's played well.
And they have Blue too, and he'll be back next year. He'll be back.
But then why the hell is Michigan in the conversation? Because they got arguably a great stack of just guys that are going to be ready. Ben Hall, Cole Cabana, freaking. I mean, you could say that whatever the kid's name is.
I've heard
from
Judkins to
Ohio.
Ohio State rumors though too.
Whatever. They don't got the money for that. Judkins wants money, man.
I will say they do need a running back desperately.
Yes. Trayvon's gone.
And I'm pretty sure Mayan's declared too.
Yeah, Mayan's gone.
So
and Master Teague, or not Master Teague. Jesus, that's so far. Holy crap. Who is the other kid?
I have not heard that name in a minute. Oh,
that is a bit. There was another kid that just entered the portal. Chip Trainum. There we go. I knew it was a T.
Master T. Wow.
Dude, he was a dog though. Like low key, that kid was a dog.
He ran a 4.3.
I know. But I don't think Judkins goes to Ohio State.
I'm just saying it would be. I think that would honestly be a good fit.
Ohio State?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could land him, absolutely. Because in my opinion, with the quarterback that is going to be there, he might be the centerpiece.
I thought Tennessee too, to be honest, because Wright's going to the NFL as well.
Yeah. So. I think he stays in the SEC though. I think that when you
Tennessee is SEC school, but
Tennessee. No. Like that's why I was agreeing with Tennessee. Okay. I was like, I think he stays in the SEC.
Robby, I know conference realignment's
no,
crazy thing, but
yeah.
Who is someone you really want to talk about in the port that has either committed or is in the portal?
That's such a good question. I want to hear, because I think I have my own opinions, but Malachi Nelson just like being so staunch on Boise State out of nowhere. This is a SC kid. This was a 5-star, and now it's like he takes one visit and he committed on the visit over the he didn't even have like a formal, like he literally tweeted it on Boise State's campus.
Because I don't know if you know, Boise State's projected to be like the best group of 5 team next year, right?
Right.
They have Ashton Genty coming back. They won their conference championship last season, and they're supposed to have a reload on all this talent. And he believes that, if he goes to another big school, he's not going to play. I think that's pretty
good. This is what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yep. Like he's just not, I'm not going to say he's not suited to. It's just obviously him transferring out after 1 year at USC when he could arguably be the starting quarterback for USC next year. They didn't have a buy-in to him at the program. They were actively going in after Will.
And that was going to be my question was, what was it on tape? Because obviously he doesn't have game tape, but most coaches can be given from the players their practice tape. What was it on those practice tapes that Malachi Nelson was doing that instantly made him, whether it was the coaches making the decision like, hey, we're not going to have you out for a visit for X, Y, and Z because you didn't fit this, you didn't fit that? Or was it him making his own conscious decision that, hey, a Power 5 school of the caliber of USC is not going to recruit me, so therefore I'm just going to go after a team like Boise State? Whatever one it is, I'm so genuinely curious as to what it was on those tapes and whether it was on those tapes or not. This guy could be a really bad locker room guy. We don't know. We have known that the Lincoln Riley quarterbacks that he recruits are, great talents, but are they?
I don't know too much about the high school history of Los Alamos or whatever, but they had a couple kids, but they aren't like some football powerhouse.
No, they weren't the modern day. They weren't the St. John Bosco.
I think this kid just wants to play football at a meaningful level, and he believes he could. I think he just evaluated all his options, and he was like, Boise State, they're a team that could get that, 12th seed in the playoff. They might get higher.
Exactly. And that is the point that needs to be made.
Yes, I truly believe that's what it was. I don't think, sometimes it's not with, who you draft from Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, USC,
Yeah.
Texas, Oklahoma. Like there's plenty. If you look at, well, let me actually pull this up on Twitter right now. Robby, continue to talk because there is something that's going to be very, very, very valuable to pull up here.
Yeah.
Um,
So what he's to continue
oh,
on what he's saying.
breaking news. Ole Miss transfer, according to On3 Sports, Ole Miss transfer running back Quinshon Judkins is currently in Columbus, Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I once again, I will never buy into something. Do I believe he's in Columbus? Yes, but with the way Ohio State has been recruiting, I just don't. You can send guys in there all you want. I don't really think that they can. They have the magnitude and they have the recruiting pitch to land these guys. But hey, who wouldn't, as a high caliber transfer, step into Columbus and just see after the type of running back talent that they've produced? But what
Look
Noah
at
is showing here, yes.
schools with NFL playoff starting QB. There
This is
is
this is a great
one,
graphic.
two, three blue blood schools. Four. I didn't see Georgia in the bottom corner. Wow. But other than that, I mean, schools like Wyoming, schools like Utah State,
Texas Tech,
Delaware, Texas
Oklahoma
Tech,
State. I
Mississippi
mean,
State.
just yeah,
Like, I'm just saying, it doesn't take you being a great quarterback to have to play at one of these schools. You can be phenomenal in
yes.
college, and you don't have to play at
Right.
one of these.
There's two sides to this entire story, and that's the point. That's why I kind of asked the questions that I did, because Malachi Nelson, in my opinion, I think is taking a very mature response or taking a very mature approach to this. He's saying, "Hey, this team is bought into me. They're bought into me. Okay, I believe in myself. So therefore, I'm going to go to the place that's going to say you're going to play, and you're going to go into a situation where the offense is going to be centered around you. You're going to be able to make your decisions, and if you truly are as good as you think you are, you're going to succeed. And when you succeed, like you just said, this isn't a 14 playoff where only the blue bloods get in. This is a whole new playoff. And when you do get in and you do get that chance, it's everything changes. When you're the 12 seed, like Boise State could be, or hypothetically speaking, going up against Bama, Georgia, Michigan, whoever's good next year, whatever the team that is, Oregon, that's the opportunity right there. That's why you go to a place that's going to let you play, because yeah, you might not be able to transfer into the SEC and get to play against all those schools every single week, but you're on the biggest stage now. There's no game matters more. No regular season game matters more than a playoff opportunity, 12 versus 1, right? So or not even 12 versus 1, because I know that the format's going to be different, but you understand my point. Small school, Power 5 school, a kid who was a blue chip recruit, and now he's just, he's playing at some smaller school, but maybe it is the more
Boise State's
mature
great,
approach.
and they're good for historical football
Oh
program
my
too.
gosh, absolutely. And I'm not going to sit here and baff on that. I mean, if you're not a person who is here, if you're someone who is a new viewer of college football, look up Kellen Moore Boise State highlights. Just watch that team play. Watch Boise State play Oklahoma in one of the greatest bowl games, the Fiesta Bowl of all time. This is a program, man, that is historical. There's culture there. And maybe Malachi Nelson is going to be the guy that puts him back onto the map.
Yeah.
Who's the guy you want to talk about?
Well, I would love to talk about Caden Salter, but he's already back at Liberty. So, because I really, that he would have been perfect at Bama. Dude, I don't know, because, actually, this is a good one. Nick Scorton, the Texas A&M, the sack leader in the Big Ten from Purdue. I'm intrigued to see what Texas A&M's approach, because obviously, it was, what can we throw to the biggest recruits? What are the biggest names we can get in from the high school recruiting? What guys can we get in the portal? What can we make us to be the most flashy, talked about name and have the biggest preseason hype? And then during the season, we're just not talked about. But we're talked about all the 8 months other than the actual season. So we're still getting publicity to our name. And in Mike Elko's first season, it's really, does this team win 10 games? And I think with a move like this, getting a big time edge rusher, well, it might not be a big time name, but in terms of big time player like this kid, like getting guys that are going to be pluses on the defense instead of just getting names, what does that do? And also, another question for Texas A&M is how good is Connor Wegman going to be coming back to this team as well? Because Wegman was a big time recruit. Wegman was good when he played at Texas A&M. This past season when he didn't get hurt, I was wondering if he was going to be a serious kid that would enter the portal. But I think the fact that he stayed bought in is either he doesn't think he's good enough, which he is, or that he believes with Mike Elko coming in. A lot of these guys like Walter Nolan, Evan Stewart, like these are big time guys that obviously have big time talent, but they don't believe they can, be as, have the publicity or the social media presence or all these things at Texas A&M with a guy like Mike Elko. So, you need to go with Lane Kiffin, a guy who's very active on, social media and
sure.
do that. So my thing is that is Texas A&M going to actually be a legit team? That's kind of...
This year, no. In my
they have a
opinion,
relatively easy schedule though. That's the thing.
yeah, I'm not going to argue there. I just still don't think. I think Elko's the right guy, but it's going to take a second to establish a whole new culture, a brand new culture. And yes, are you getting a lot of the toxicity out by removing a guy like? I'm not going to call Walter Nolan toxicity in terms of the way you guys might be thinking I'm saying it, but in terms of, guys who are maybe a little more selfish and maybe just a little more me, and not we. And that, that's just that's not the type of football. That's not the type of team that Mike Elko, he wants. So getting a little bit out of that, yes. But once again, it always takes some time, like just the same way that you talk about Jonathan Smith with Michigan State.
I'm just saying they have more talent at Texas A&M than you would say.
No, they do. And they do have a lot more talent. And when I say I just don't think this team's going to win 10 games because reminder, this is a whole new brand of college football.
Yeah.
10 wins is going to be like 12 wins now. You go 10-2, that's a damn good season with the way that there's 4 conferences and essentially 3 conferences that are just the powerhouse.
Yeah. A guy that I wanted to bring up that I know you absolutely despise, KJ Jefferson to UCF.
Yeah, what do you do? Jackson Rice Plumlee, what happened to that guy?
I think he's done.
I think he is done too because I do remember seeing him on MLB draft boards.
Yeah, like I think he's just legitimately,
which is crazy. He's such a good football player.
Yeah,
but he's a really good baseball player too.
One thing I saw today that I was like, oh, and I think it's kind of not in the same way that he's a big time player like Malachi Nelson, just kind of reevaluating his options and just wanting to play. Tate Rodemaker going to Southern Miss.
So interesting, right? Just so interesting. I mean, you get it because DJU came and now, Rodemaker wasn't, in the biggest of limelight for.
Oh, yeah. Why? I completely. Before we get to Rodemaker, what do we think of DJU going to Florida State?
I think this kid's trying too hard. You're trying to save something.
Okay.
No, you're trying to revive something that I just don't think is revivable. You're not gonna ever be the caliber of prospect coming into this draft that you were out of high school. It's just not gonna happen. Are you a good football player? Yes. Do you have a good arm? Yes. Do you have touch? No. Do you have accuracy? Are you dual? No.
We need to make a Robby Elliott soundboard.
Yeah, let's do that. I just DJU, man, are you gonna succeed? I mean, you got a good team around you, so sure. But are you gonna be the sole reason for it? Success is what I would say that Oregon State had this year. Like that's the level of success that he's at. He's not gonna take Florida State to the fucking playoff.
Yeah. What I will say is that I think it's just a bridge quarterback option, but from what I hear is that Florida State is like really big on Brock Glenn and thinks like this could be the future of their program. And it might just be a to up the competition. And will we see DJU starting in week 1 of 2024?
Maybe.
That's a question that seems to be remain. No. I will say another kid I wanted to mention is Jaden Miava from UNLV. He's like UNLV was a relatively good team this year. The kid's good. I'm wondering if he's looking to make that jump.
I think so. I don't think you enter and leave a program like that is on the rise if you're not looking
It's
to make
just
the Power 5
kind
jump.
of where I mean USC maybe. I don't know. They might.
I think you're right because I think USC is still uncertain about the quarterback position.
Yeah. Which just Miller Moss, obviously, with Nelson transferring out. Bama would not be. I don't know. I think Bama just needs to move into a different direction. Personally, I think that's something we might see in the spring window. Is a quarterback.
Do we see Jalen Milroe enter the portal?
I think we. I don't know. My problem is that who would enter the portal and who would take the risk of going to Bama? Because it's not going to be someone that's very happy. It's going to be someone that's not going to be probably very happy with their situation, but also most big time quarterbacks are happy with their situation unless they're at a small school. I'm just wondering and trying to theoretically think in my head who would be that guy. And I just can't think of one off the top of my head.
I can't either.
I think if Wegman wanted to, I think that would probably be my like first go-to. What I think he's legit, dude. Like, no doubt.
I just don't know if he'd go to Bama.
Arnold, if he's not happy at Oklahoma.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Dude, that kid, talk about a performance, man. He put one on, but is he really that good? Like, he's
Fafita, if McMillan goes to the draft,
Noah Fafita. Yes.
Like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone else. Shedeur should just go there, to be honest.
Fucking just the meanest dad.
Like, seriously? I don't think that. I think that'd actually be.
Dude, Shedeur would actually be so perfect at Alabama.
Yeah. Well, no, he would. I mean, Shedeur would be perfect at most. He'd be perfect at Ohio State, perfect at Michigan.
Yeah.
Perfect at.
He's so talented, man. But we're never going to get to see it on full display because he's got to play.
Not until the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I got nobody. I think we covered what I wanted to talk about.
Daquan going to Baylor? What do you think of that?
Let's go. Like, good for you, Daquan. But at the same time, are they going to make any big type of just, oh my gosh, no.
Oh,
Daquan Finn will be just as known at Baylor as he was at Toledo.
Yeah. Guy that I'm actually, and this is what I was really hyped, because I think Louisville is just becoming my secondary team. Like, I've kind of just, I stuck with the prediction. I was rooting for him all year. And now I do really like Jeff Brom as a coach too. Like, even though as much as I hated the spoiler makers, because Aiden O'Connell might have just had his best game of his career against Spartans, which most quarterbacks did that season. Penny Boone going to Louisville. I think that's actually a really big time.
Yeah, I love that move. I think Penny Boone is
deserving
of just playing at a high level of football.
Louisville, according to 24/7 Sports, is the 4th team of the transfer portal rankings.
Yeah, this is a team that's probably going to be playing in the playoff next year.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
We love the Cards for that.
Yeah, we do. We do love the Cards. We love the Engage A podcast. We're going to be here throughout the whole off season. So if you are still, if you don't even like college football that much, but you still like to listen to us, or if you still like to know the bits and pieces of college football and you want to know some information going into the 2024 season, 2025, we're going to be here all the way along with you. Excited. We will break down this national championship game, kind of what we started the episode for, but we got, obviously the transfer portal is just more exciting. I forgot the video. God damn it. It's all right. I'll have plenty of more times to display it throughout, the next 5 months. So
yeah.
Make sure once again, like, subscribe, share, and we will see you on Tuesday with our national championship reaction.